Okay, we are live this morning. This is Wednesday, February 16th. This is your Senate Transportation Committee. And our first item on the agenda is Transportation Workforce Development. And we have some folks with us this morning to discuss that. First one on our list is Matt Musgrave of the Associated General Contractors of Vermont. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and thank you for having me out again. It's my pleasure to be here to talk about a topic like workforce development. For the record, my name is Matt Musgrave. I'm with the Associated General Contractors of Vermont. And I know everyone on this call knows who we are, but for folks watching at home, Associated General Contractors of Vermont is a trade association that represents both road and bridge workers, commercial construction builders, as well as some residential builders as well. We also provide industry-specific training through OSHA, the Office of Occupational Safety and Health Administration, as well as MSHA, the Mine Safety and Health Administration. And our members employ generally anywhere between 15 and 20,000 individuals annually in Vermont. Right now, we're hovering around 16,000 persons, and we're growing. The goal that we have at this point is to add approximately 1,000 new souls to the industry annually, so that we're able to meet the attrition challenges that we're meeting from retirement, as well as being able to keep up with these infrastructure bills, as well as increased transportation budgets. So for a very long time, workforce development has been one of the priorities of this association, and this pandemic only magnified the need within our ranks. At this point in time, we've made a conscious decision that we are going to act purposefully and create targeted programs to ensure that we have enough contractors to meet that capacity, to be able to take advantage of those funds, particularly the infrastructure funds, which are tied to our 5-year commitment, 7-year spend requirement. So we've worked on a lot of different programs, but we started that by hiring a workforce development director. And I'm going to turn this over to him. I'd like to introduce to you, with your permission, Sean Rollo, he is the new workforce development director here at the Associated General Contractors, and he is going to take you through some of the programs that we've put together this year.
Thank you.
And pardon me, Mr. Chair, if he's going to talk a little bit about a web a platform that we put together, if it was possible for me to share my screen.
Sure, go ahead.
I'd be happy to show you. I'll walk you through it as he's talking.
Okay, be fine.
Thank you. All right, Sean.
Okay, we got it.
I think we might have lost Sean. Is he on the call still?
No, don't hear him.
Okay, how about now?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You're back.
Okay, got you.
Okay, great. Did you get my introduction?
Not yet.
Okay, sorry about that. So good morning. My name is Sean Rouleau, and I live in Franklin, Vermont. I was hired by the Associated General Contractors of Vermont back in September and tasked with creating a workforce development plan for its members. Anticipating the workforce challenges, this is what we've come up with. And so, Matt, if you scroll down to the job descriptions. So within this platform, we have these job descriptions here. And Matt, why don't you click on Project Manager? So within this platform, there's a description of what a project manager, his responsibilities are, interest, average wage, education options. And then this short video explains more about what those responsibilities are, as well as his testimony about his experience in construction and the benefits of a career in construction. Do you want to play some of that, Matt?
Don, I
Probably-
don't think
probably-
it will. I don't think it'll translate well for Zoom.
Okay. All right. So then within this page, you can then click on search construction careers. So Matt, why don't you click on the blue pill? So now it's taking us to the jobs that are listed from our members. So go ahead and hit search jobs. So these are the construction jobs that are offered right now from the different companies that we represent. So you'll see examples from Ron Fenoff Excavating. He's looking for a foreman and a grade foreman. Breadloaf Construction is looking for tradespeople. HP Cummings is looking for carpenters. And Connor Contracting is looking for skilled carpenters as well. There are project managers. There are basically the full gamut of construction jobs listed here. And then from there, Matt, why don't you click on one of the jobs? So here, this is a description of the job that's posted, and pay, requirements. And then from here, you can actually apply for the job. So Matt, if you just take them up to the corner. And so right here, you can put in your name, email address, phone number, and then attach your resume as well. So this is set up so that you can do this from a laptop, but also from your phone as well. So 5 clicks and you can be applying for a construction job in Vermont. So the process was going to different jobs in Vermont, different construction sites, interviewing the workers, and preparing the descriptions of each job and the requirements. I think we're good with that, Matt. Does anyone have any questions about the site?
No, sounds pretty easy to do that. Just got to find the people to apply.
So
That's right. And so with that, I'm going to every tech center in the state, and I'm showing students how to navigate that platform. So I was in at the Cold Hollow Career Center in Enosburg, and they didn't have a question of the day up yet. And so I put the question up for the instructor, and I said, where's the best place to find a construction job in Vermont? So the students began to answer the question, and they were saying, well, their dad would help them get a job, or the co-op coordinator, or they would look in the newspaper. But by the end of my session with them, they realized that it was this platform right here. This is where you can find a job. So they're all going to be aware of that, how to use it, and they'll be able to use it for years to come.
Yes, Senator Ingalls.
Sean or Matt, where are all the workers gone?
I think they're home right now.
Why?
I think,
I mean, aren't the programs, federal programs done?
I think different people have different reasons for being home right now. And I think the efforts that we're going to put forward, the stuff that I'll demonstrate to you right now, is going to be a very good shot at getting those people motivated and back in the workforce.
Hey, Senator Ingalls, let me just address that question as well. So I sent over, I believe, last week to this committee. I'll send it again to the committee assistant. There's a document that we have that shows the historical employment within our industry here in Vermont. And when we talk about a workforce challenge within the construction industry, it's a lot more tied to the attrition of folks that our median age right now is 55 years old in this industry. So when we talk about workforce challenges, it's a little bit different than maybe hospitality or retail or some of the other outfits. When you actually look back through the COVID piece, construction was shut down in March of 2020, just like everyone else was. But construction was also the first out the door within a couple of weeks. And by and large, the construction jobs that we are offering paid a significant amount of money that we didn't have that same loss of staff that some of the other industries did, from whether it was the $600 unemployment program or some of the other things. So we actually did a really good job statistically maintaining our ranks. But this challenge that we're dealing with is really more based on the attrition factor, as well as understanding what we have ahead of us for work. So that's why we estimate about 1,000 new souls per year that we need to remain as strong as we are today.
I have friends, very great friends with R.G. Gosselin, JP Card, Hutchins, Dan St. Ange. I mean, those I could think of some smaller ones as well, and there's just nobody there. I mean, I've got Dan St. Ange just had a huge auction, sold $4 or $5 million worth of his equipment just because he couldn't find anybody. He said, why hang on to it and make payments on? I mean, just, you guys know it. I mean, everybody knows it. I just, anything we can do and encourage these people to get back into the workforce would be very helpful. And it's not even about wages, because I mean, we heard Jay Peak the other day, a hospitality industry that is historically known not to probably pay top of the wages. And Steve said, hey, just tell me what you want to tell me, what I need to pay you for you to show up. Tell me. And he's still not getting the applicant. So anything that we can do to help motivate these folks to get back in the workforce is very helpful.
I want to go back to Matt's comment about the demographics of your workforce. And because for a number of professions, dentistry was another, nursing is another, we're losing more to retirement at the back end than we are generating supply on the front end. And part of it, obviously, is, our birth rate's not terribly high. But I bet the calculus is the same for your businesses as well. If you're looking at people who are, because these are many of them are very physically demanding jobs, and I can see why as people get what did you say, 55? I mean, that seems young, right? But a lot depends on what you're asked to do at age 55.
That's
So
a long
I wonder,
life in an excavator.
Huh?
That's a long life in an excavator.
Yeah, it sure is. Or running one of those rollers with your head turned around backwards half the day. So my question is, have you taken you're obviously in there trying to recruit youth, get them into the trades, get them in, engaged and into this area of work. Just what do the numbers look like in terms of, it sounds like you're experiencing what is being experienced in a number of occupational areas, that people are, we have more people at the back end retiring than we are generating for the front end.
Well, we were a little sly with the individual we decided to hire for our workforce development team. Sean spent a large part of his career working in the technical center programs, and I'll let him go into that a little bit more, because he's here to help us do two things. Maybe start this cultural shift, because we didn't have a gig economy to talk about 30 years ago, and that's a huge employment option for people that they're taking. So, Sean's going to work a lot on, bringing that culture so people understand what the outcomes are of being in this industry, as well as find out what their needs and wants are. So, Sean, you might have a perspective on that you'd like to share.
Well, before you start, Sean, one thing I'd like to say about CTEs that discourages kids from going into those programs is the way CTEs are financed, and the sending school does not encourage kids into the CTE. Maybe Sean, you can speak to this, but there's always been, and we still haven't shed it, that historical legacy around almost denigrating or diminishing the value of the technical education compared to, the pride and emphasis if you can get, a student into an Ivy, for example. And part of our problem is just how we finance CTEs that makes it a financial obstacle as well. And frankly, it's something I feel we need to address, but so that we don't have that financial disincentive for schools to encourage kids into the CTE track. But and that's something the legislature would have to do clearly. And it's how we finance our CTE system. We give a lot of attention to the importance, of the CTEs in our workforce and the trades, but we still have this financing structure that stands in the way to really encourage kids to take those courses. So maybe you can speak to that, Sean, from your perspective.
Well, I completely agree with you about the value of CTEs and that we need to raise its value among the public, that people need to understand that there are valuable careers in construction and encourage that cross-section of students who are not going to CTEs to go. So that's going to take some work. And that's the kind of conversations that people are beginning to have that need to occur. So I think you're right on. And I think in terms of funding, that's really for you guys to do. But I think anything that we can do to encourage kids to get into the CTEs is going to be a good thing. And messaging in terms of what your career is and what your values are needs to be part of that equation. So what I'd like to talk about is what we're doing about the workforce shortage. And we have a lot of things on our docket going forward. For the next 3 months, we're going to be, well, I guess to start with, we've already started working on a retention training for our employers. And this retention training is working on sorry, I have to get to another set of notes here. So our retention training includes topics like onboarding and a 90-day plan, skills training, coaching and mentoring, engagement, participation, responsibility enhancement, performance review. These are all topics that employers need to work on so that they can keep the employees that they have. And we've been doing a 7-week session training our employers on these topics. It's been very popular. We have 30 to 40 people engaged from all of the different companies that we represent that are part of this. And people have asked for the recordings. So it's going further than that, than just those 40 people that are watching it. And it's being watched at all levels, owners, HR people, regular workers. So it's, I think it's a really valuable piece that we're adding to what we're doing. So as far as what we have planned for the next 4 months, we have a hiring event. We've teamed up with the Department of Labor, and early in March, they're putting on a virtual job fair. We're also going to be having other hiring events where we specifically match employers with job seekers directly and give them the opportunity to meet with those contractors that we've brought in. And this is something that we will be scheduling in advance. So we've contracted Green Mountain Marketing to increase our social media presence. So this, coupled with sharing and liking and combining the activities of our members, will create a formidable presence in social media. And this will help to get the message to anyone who is looking for a career in construction. So we'll be using conventional media as well, TV, radio, and newspaper ads. We'll be using press releases to promote the hiring events that we're planning on. I spoke about training. We have a new introduction to construction course that we're running. And this course is designed for anyone who has never been on a job site before. It prepares them for what to expect. Now, the unique part of this course is that it's being taught by different representatives from different companies. So we have 7 different companies that have loaned out their people to teach this class. So potential candidates are exposed to the process from different companies and as well as their styles and how they deliver their message. So this is going out to a number of EOEs that we've reached out. They're providing this training free to anyone in their groups. It's also provided free to the tech centers and the vet centers as well. Now, we also put on training throughout the year, and thousands of construction workers come through our facility. Now, we're putting on what we're calling the Super Bowl of career fairs, and that is going to be April 26th. So we're renting out the Champlain Valley Expo and both the Miller Center and the Blue Ribbon Room, and they have room for 150 booths for employers. And we also have confirmations from a number of high schools and tech centers. So we have at least 1,200 students who will be visiting and maybe more. So the career fair will run from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And this will allow students to visit for the first half of the day, but the second half of the day is really targeted to the unemployed, the underemployed, veterans, and basically anyone looking for a job. So there'll be a massive social media campaign as well as conventional media campaign supporting this event. I think it will be the largest career fair in Vermont's history. So we've also allowed for a demo space where employers can showcase technology and other inspiring parts of their industry. The Agency of Transportation has already indicated that they'd like to bring a drone. And I've been reaching out to our members and asking them to be prepared to present in this demonstration space. That'll be going on all through the day. So the Department of Labor has also offered to have agents on the ground so that they can be signing people up. If someone expresses an interest in a job, that they can be helping them with a resume, they can be helping them with applying and really just enhancing the idea of a career fair. Did anyone have any questions about our career fair?
No, I don't see any. If there is, jump in. No, okay. All right. Anything else?
I'm just checking my notes.
Okay.
So as far as the platform goes, again, every time I'm in a public space and within my email, we're doing the best we can to get that message out. So Senator Ingalls asked where the workers are. We're going to try to find where those workers are and get them motivated about careers in construction. And undoubtedly, we'll have thousands of people at this Super Bowl of career fairs. And that's going to be a pretty good shot at getting people back to work. So that's what we're motivated to do.
You're concentrating on the youth though, right? You've got 1,200 students coming. What
So
about
that's a commitment for the first half of the day. And I think it'll even be more, but our media campaign will be focused on anyone else. So from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock is going to be focused on is open to the public and getting anyone else who may be looking for a job.
Any questions, comments? Okay, we got about 5 more minutes. Anything you want to add to this?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay,
I
anything
just
else?
want to wish you, I hope that is a success. I hope that works well, and I appreciate you guys putting the efforts into that.
Everyone
Thank you.
is
I
struggling.
appreciate that.
Everyone is struggling. I don't care what business you're into today. They're all struggling, whether it's home care or look at the hospitals. The hospitals had to raise pay this week. A medical center, some are up to $100, $200 a week just to get nurses to stay. They did that at the medical center. Or get new nurses trained. So it's a serious issue. I don't know where it's going to end or how it's going to end, but I know of no industry right now that's not begging. And like you said, Senator Ingalls, they'll ask what you want to earn an hour, and yet you still don't get people to apply.
You know, part of that is, are there people out there to apply? And that
Right.
gets to the
Yeah.
question that I'm talking about, and that is the smaller, the fact that we're probably retiring more when you think about our demographics.
Right.
And then other states, I imagine your colleagues in other states are experiencing similar challenges. Are you finding that there's recruitment? In other words, sometimes, everybody wants to solve their problem by recruiting, workers from other states. Are you finding that there's active recruitment for Vermont workers?
In other states?
From other states, yeah. I don't know. We've got we've got New York, we've got Massachusetts, New Hampshire on our borders. I'm just wondering to what extent we're experiencing regional competition for that labor pool.
Well, there certainly is regional competition. And it's, we're doing our best to keep everyone here in Vermont and working.
Mm-hmm.
But there certainly is that competition.
If I may, we hear a lot of this anecdotally through our members on a fairly regular basis. And one that I frequently hear on a regular basis on the inbound recruiting is, we have people that are going down and trying to recruit in the Boston area and the Massachusetts greater Boston area. And they're even able to go and offer them the same competitive wages and benefits packages. And the challenge then becomes, where do we put them when they come here? Because if you get somebody out of state and they own a home and they believe in the fact that that home and the equity is their pathway to family wealth, and the option here in Vermont is to pay a rent that's higher than the mortgage payment that they have, the answer is going to always be no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we deal with. And I've brought this up in several other committees. And I that's something that we need to look at our housing plan, not just building, apartment buildings, but workforce housing that people can purchase.
It's just odd. I mean, pre-pandemic, we were probably at the highest participation in the workforce that we've ever been in the history of the world. And we hit this pandemic, and, those people, they didn't leave the country. They probably didn't leave the state. I wish you success in finding them.
Thank you.
Well, the timing of that fair is springtime, and that's when our members will be ramping up to take on the projects that they're doing. So the timing is good, and I'm hoping that the good weather and the opportunities are going to get people back working.
Okay, we have Lori Valburn, Agency of Transportation. Are you with us this morning?
I sure am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you.
And I'm also mindful of your time. So I've been working closely with Matt and Sean, and I want to try to provide some information about how we're partnering with AGC and other partners throughout the state to make sure that we can find and employ and retain workers. How long do you think that we have left before we have to close out this session?
Oh, we probably got another 10 minutes. We could sneak in. We're running a little late, but we'll do our best.
That's
I
wonderful news.
I think Bill Smith is also with us this morning for Vermont Truck and Bus. So if we could sneak in 5 minutes for you and him, thank you.
That sounds great. I'm going to very quickly share my screen, or try to, and I will hopefully you're able to see.
Yep, they are.
That's great. So I'm thrilled to be here today. And again, our agency has worked closely with AGC Vermont, including Matt and Sean. We definitely are enthusiastic about all of the things that they've been describing to you. We have tremendous opportunities in transportation right now. We also have some real pressing needs to be able to recruit workforce to get to work on all of our construction projects, as well as internally. So I'm showing you here a picture that includes some of our workforce, as well as I always include a picture of a bridge, because it's part of what we do. Part of the success of our agency in terms of recruiting and retention of our workforce, as well as for our contractors, has always been based on partnerships. We develop and nurture some enduring partnerships, and that includes AGC Vermont. It includes the Department of Labor. It includes the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. My team I apologize. I should introduce myself. I'm Lori Valburn. I'm the Director of Civil Rights at the Vermont Agency of Transportation. It's a position that I've been privileged to hold for quite a while now. And for the last 12 years, my team has helped to spearhead our talent acquisition pipeline and onboarding process. So we've definitely been very, very mindful over the last 2 years of how the pandemic has impacted our recruitment efforts as well as our retention efforts. And I'm pleased to say that although we've certainly been significantly impacted by the pandemic, by the initial shutdown, by a statewide hiring freeze for a good part of 2020 and into 2021, we've rebounded in a big way. And I wanted to share some of that story with you this morning. My team has always been very active with youth outreach activities, and it's one of the things that I'm pleased that we're able to continue doing. When the pandemic hit, we obviously had to scale back our efforts and move into a virtual space. And that required doing some shifting. It also required putting some of our very active youth outreach programs on pause, including a lot of our job shadowing opportunities, our internships, and the like. I'm pleased to say that that is all coming back. The picture that you see here is from one of the bridge building competitions that we help to sponsor and provide judges for. That's held annually down at Vermont Technical College. It's been wonderful to see how we've worked together with many different educational institutions in order to be able to build that pipeline. So these are some of the different programs that we found have been most successful. We really do work with academic institutions starting at preschool and all the way up. But what we find is particularly important is the outreach that we're doing with the tech centers and the high schools. And that includes some of the things that you were hearing from Matt and Sean about today as well. So you're familiar with many of these different things. We obviously have had to retailer some of these in order to maintain COVID safety protocols over the last 2 years. We're really excited about the fact that for the construction season in 2022, we anticipate that we will be back to in-person outreach activities, as well as being able to host students individually and in groups for some of our facilities tours, our Summer Transportation Institute, et cetera. These are some pictures from the Women Can Do conference that was held just prior to the pandemic. Again, we've had some great responses. The Women Can Do event is something that we do in partnership with Vermont Works for Women, and they have traditionally attracted as many as 500 or 600 high school and tech school girls and women that come and participate in hands-on activities. It's been a great opportunity for us to promote our jobs, both internal and with our contractor workforce, in order to help our contractors diversify their workforce as well as for ourselves. This is a picture from our intern maintenance worker program, and it was taken in February of 2020, just prior to the pandemic. It was during a winter snow event, and I saw this was posted on our Facebook page. And about a week later, I was describing this photo to our secretary, Secretary Flynn, not realizing he was actually the one who took the picture. So that was something that came as a surprise to me, but he does go out and about during snow events, and he drove by our Colchester facility, saw some activity out there. So this is a picture of Simba and Jay DeBono. And Simba is a young man. He was at the time a student at Winooski High School. And the intern maintenance worker program launched in 2018. It's been a terrific pipeline for us to get young people into our workforce. We worked closely with our risk management folks and our Department of Human Resources to get permission to hire 16 and 17-year-olds and pay them to work with us. And we started with a pilot program in 2018, 17 students. It more than doubled in 2018, and we were on track to more than double again in 2020 until the pandemic hit. I'm pleased to say that in 2021, the program has returned, and we are on track to hopefully hire several dozen high school and tech school students to work with us this summer. We've been successful at hiring close to a dozen of the folks who participated in this program into our permanent workforce. So it's been a great opportunity, and some of the supervisors in our garages who initially were a little bit uncertain whether this was just going to be a kind of babysitting job have come to realize this is a great program. We have a lot of different partnerships that I'm happy to share, but in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. We have created a culture of ambassadors at our organization. We find that our employees are the best folks to be able to speak to the value of the jobs that we do and serving, having the opportunity to serve the communities that they live in. These happen to be pictures that I took at 2 job fairs that we were attending in February of 2020, just prior to the pandemic. We've had good luck continuing to use our ambassadors, I'll call them, even in a virtual job fair environment. But we are eager to get back into in-person, including the event, the Super Bowl of job fairs that Sean was talking about. And these are just a few slides that talk about some of the ways that we've tried to make sure that we make the most of the interview and hiring process, as well as an onboarding process for retention. And my team has done a great job of creating a virtual onboarding program that includes monthly check-ins with all of our new employees. So we've been pretty successful at continuing to recruit and retain folks during the pandemic, in spite of the hiring freeze, in spite of the difficulties in finding a candidate pool and facilitating interviews. We hired from July 1st of 2020 until June 30th of 2021, so state fiscal 21. We hired over 100 permanent employees at our agency. I'm pleased to say that of that number, 12 of them were Black, Indigenous, and people of color. That's a new record for us. We saw similar results with our contractor workforce. This past summer in 2021, we had 1,243 employees working for our contractors on federally funded transportation projects during the peak of the season, which is July of 2021. Of that number, 7.5% were BIPOC, which is again a new record for us. We had 6% were female, and our programs exist to assist our contractors in finding the best possible candidates, but also to make the most of it to reach out to non-traditional populations and populations that Sean was describing, who are either unemployed or underemployed, and previously may not have gotten the training and assistance that they needed. So that is it from me as far as the presentation, and I'm sorry for rushing through it. I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions or? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to, Bill, you got about 4 minutes. I'm sorry we're running behind. We just took a little longer than we thought.
Well, it's
Bill
an important
Smith,
topic for a lot
go
of.
right ahead.
Bill Smith from Truck and Bus Association, their attorney and lobbyist, and I can obviously come back later in the session about this as well. But just quickly, 2 key areas for the trucking industry are drivers, of course, and mechanics. First of all, because it's a little bit simpler to deal with mechanics, our tech centers, Senator Kitchell was right that the funding and the ability to get students interested in the possibilities of perhaps becoming a diesel mechanic sometimes start too late, if at all. We think that we need to have a systemic focus on getting to students earlier, perhaps in the middle school, to give them this opportunity, to show them it's available, because by the time a kid is 16, 17 years old, she or he is probably not going to go down this career path that leads to employment for my members. So the tech centers are key to that, and having it be a statewide focus on it and doing it earlier is important there. Secondly, our drivers, DMV's programs and the federal motor carriers programs have changed to improve the ability to have schools, both within your company, what they call a private school, and a public school, which has people come in for hire to pay for it. Those are rolling out and improving and access to students. As an example, Bell Events Trucking does a private program where they have 8 students coming in April. So they're going to be full in April with 8 students trying to get their CDLs. The 2 areas of training there's your theory training. You can do that online. It's 14 to 16 hours typically of testing. Costs about $100, including materials. Vermont Truck and Bus is doing that online training for its members as well. The driver skills training, that's the schools I'm talking about. Those cost around $5,000 and are a 5 to 6 week program. Typically, if it's a private school, again, Bell Events is the closest example for the State House. They have a deal with the students that if you work for them for 2 years, they'll take it out of your paycheck over time, over that 2-year period. So you can figure about $50 a week coming out to pay off your training as a driver. We're hoping that that's going to be a good model for the private schools. On the public school side of things, I have a couple of members that are schools. The key there is funding. Loans or grants available for the students to pay for it. It's a good program to get into. People are applying. You got to kind of weed people out. Sometimes people can't pass the substance tests. It's a very common thing these days. But obviously we'll have to come back to this issue more. And if you have any questions for me, either now or online, I'm happy to take them.
Mazza, can I have
Yes,
a quick
right
question?
ahead. Senator Perchik, go ahead.
Thanks. Just a quick question, Bill, and that is, I got correspondence from a constituent that does their own, in-house driving instruction to try to get drivers. But they said there's a new rule, federal rule going in place in February, that went into place on February 7th, that made that more difficult, that all the schools had to be certified by the feds And I don't know if your members are having that problem with getting that certification for their private schools, and if you think there's something the state should be doing to help get that certification.
I think that you know, if those companies, I mean, we certainly have companies that are able to do it, that have done it, so it's possible to do. If that constituent wants to reach out to me, I could probably connect them with someone that can assist with that. But yes, there were some recent federal changes so that they can, you know, it's motor carrier safety. It's drivers are going to be safe on the highways, and you know, they've got their federal requirements.
This was more like a construction and other materials. They weren't like probably a regular truck and bus member. They have heavy equipment that they drive from, you know, site to site, but they're not like transporting goods or people. So, okay, well, it seemed like maybe a role for AOT or somebody to help make sure that we have places that businesses can do their own training, because I think that's probably the best way to get an employee is train them yourself.
Sure, I'm sorry.
No, there's another model. First of all, VSAC is out with middle school age kids on aspirational. And so I don't know whether you've had discussions with them, but certainly getting kids in middle school seems to be what is a good tool. The other thing that I know the CTEs have partnered with some of the trucking companies to do Cdl courses, and actually for adults as well. And VSAC will help underwrite some of the cost of the tuition. So there are different models out there, but I'm aware of that one where it was free to the individual to get the CDL, but it was a combination of funding streams to make it work. And it was done with it wasn't Bella Vance, it was another trucking company in Barrie that provided the equipment and so forth for the students to use.
Pretty soon there aren't going to be anybody driving anyway. They're all going to be driverless trucks anyway. That's what I see. Walmart's using some, and you talk about, boy, that's a nervous condition right there. Anonymous truck drivers.
Mr. Chairman, you can combine that with North Dakota's doing a pilot program for vehicles up to 130 feet long on the interstates.
Yeah, but there's nobody who lives there.
and the roads are straight. I get that, but still,
Yeah, they are.
Well, this is an interesting subject. It could go on for a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody is in the same situation, and trucking as well. Boy, I hope the future is getting brighter, but I don't know. It's kind of,
yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't look good in the future of a lot of these professions, whether it's construction workers or concrete workers or truck drivers. And I see it in my little business here. Truck driving company, the company's delivery, they can't make deliveries because they don't have the people, and they're paying very, very good money too. It isn't that they're underpaying them. They're getting 28, 30 bucks an hour to deliver soda. But they just can't find the help anyway. Okay, well, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, we're going to move on. We're running behind, but that's all right. We'll do well here. Our next subject is buildings and general services sales of fleet vehicles to the Department of Children and Families for donation to reach up participants. Erin is with us from the Department of Children and Families. Erin, are you with us this morning?
I am here. Thanks for having me.
I'm sorry we're running late, but that's what happens sometimes. So
no problem.
So tell us what this issue is about.
Yeah, sure. I can give a brief overview, and I believe Deb Carroll is also here from BGS.
Yeah, tell us something about yourself and your background and what you do. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Erin Olikin, and I'm the director of the Reach Up program, which is Vermont's TANF program, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And this is a program that helps families with children to build job skills, employment training, and to get back into the workforce. And part of what we do in the program is to help families address barriers to work. And one of the biggest barriers that families face is transportation. So last year, we were able to partner with BGS to purchase some of the surplus fleet cars that were no longer being used by the state. And we we had an additional amount of money that was from a previous funding stream that we were able to use to purchase 16 cars last year. And then we developed an MOU together so that if we were able to continue to purchase cars in the future, that we would have that process in place so that we could purchase these cars and donate them to families who need them to get to work.
You donate them, they're free to the families, there's no charge, or?
That's correct. They're free.
And what's the average price per car that you donate?
So typically prior to working with BGS, and we actually still have a partnership with Good News Garage. For Good News Garage, we purchased the cars for $6,000 each. And that's just a flat fee that covers the cost of the repairs and overhead and getting the cars registered and all of that. And then with BGS, it varies from car to car. And Deb might want to talk a little bit more about how they determine the price of those cars.
Okay, all right. Any questions from Erin before we move on to Deb?
Well, the one thing I would say, it's not the way it was described, donation, but it's not. It's a purchase of the vehicles. It's just to a particular group of low-income Vermonters. Because we asked that question of BGS the other day in terms of the other, and this isn't exactly in the DCF in families and children, but it's part of, well, yes, it is, Voc Rehab. I just got an email from someone who said their mechanic complained terribly about VR is paying to have repairs on cars that are absolutely worthless. And why aren't they referring people to Mileage Smart? Or I guess in this case, any of these vehicles being made, or maybe there's just not a sufficient supply to open it up. But that's one comment that I would pass on for discussion, particularly if you could convey it to your VR colleagues about authorizing repairs that are on for vehicles that are really, from a mechanic's perspective, are not worth the investment, and why not direct them to Mileage Smart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't speak to the situation with VR, but what we do in Reach Up is we check to make sure that the vehicle is worth fixing before we repair it, because that is also part of what we do, is we do vehicle repairs. I will say that this is a really, really tough time for used cars. There's a huge shortage of used cars, and the used cars that are out there are extremely expensive, and the repairs are expensive as well, and they've gotten more expensive. And so sometimes I know that very difficult decisions have to be made about whether or not this expensive repair will help keep somebody in a vehicle and for how long, and being really mindful of the fact that if we don't repair that car, they may not have a vehicle for years. So it's because there's a shortage, and there's only a certain number that we're able to purchase within our budget. And there are families on the waiting list for it. So that's just from the Reach Up perspective.
Well, I guess what I was wondering is internal to the agency. Could you, I don't know who the director of VR is. Diane Delmas is probably retired by now, maybe not.
No, she's still there.
All right. Just to communicate to Diane, this, to make sure that that group of Vermonters seeking employment know about Mileage Smart. And also the question is, do they have a policy the same as yours relative to the cost of the repairs, relative to the value of the vehicle? So that's all I'm asking. Not to, I don't expect you to defend it or answer the question, but I thought since you're here and you're part of the same department, you could perhaps convey that that message to Diane, and she can either say, "Yep, that's what we're doing," and it's all set, or she can act on it. So I appreciate if you would just convey that to her.
Sure.
You know, used cars went up again this week. I saw in the paper, I guess yesterday, they've gone up tremendously. The value of it's going crazy, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Questions? Yes, Senator Berklick.
I have a question for BGS. I see Eric is here.
Okay, well, would anybody have any further questions with Aaron before we move on to Deb or? Okay, all right, let's move on. Thank you, Deb. We'll move on to next. We have with us Deb Carroll, and Mr. Phil Korn is also with us. So Deb, you want to take it away?
Senator, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
A little bit. Okay, try again. Yep.
Wait a minute, let me turn up the volume here. All right, is that better?
Yep.
We can't see you.
No, I haven't yet figured out how to do that on my laptop. Anyway. So I sent you the department sent you the sheet of.
It's hard. You're not coming in clear.
Senator, I'm going to log in again through my iPad. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
perhaps I could attempt to field Senator Perchlik's question while she is finding her
Okay. Go right ahead.
technological self.
All right. Good morning. Gee, we have the honor to have you on our committee for change. Huh?
Good morning, Eric Philcorn, BGS. Pleasure to be with you, sir.
Yeah, I think Ingalls and Mazza would get tired of.
I know we do. We're trying to have a little petition going around, but you know, it's hard. He's there every day.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, just a 50,000 view. You know, that's all we need today. I just want
Oh, now for our YouTube listeners, gotta remember that.
I was thinking of y'all yesterday because I attempted maybe I went a bridge too far in an electric fleet vehicle. I tried to do a round trip to Windsor and wound up spending an hour charging in White River Junction and then an hour and a half recharging in Randolph, and finally
What
made it
happened?
back.
How many miles? You get 10 miles per charge or what?
Well, this was a real world experience of how cold can affect an electric vehicle, because
wow.
when I got in the car, the display said I had a range of 190 miles. And by the time I got to about Bethel, I was at more like 80 miles and 20 miles when I got to Windsor.
Wow.
And it was a long haul back. I mean, I knew I was pushing it, but I had to try.
Shut the heaters off, right?
Oh, the heater was off. Heater was off.
Mhm.
Okay, go right ahead. Yes, answer Senator Ingalls' question. You said. Okay, Senator Perchlik.
Yeah, my question: Do you have off the top of your head how many cars BGS kind of moves through its system? Like how many used cars is it putting out on the market, so to speak, every year?
Well, that's a good one for Deb Carroll. How many?
Yeah, generally, it's 100 vehicles a year. Currently, because of the pandemic, there are over 200 vehicles marked for replacement. But the supply chain is limiting that movement.
And right now, are any of them going to reach up, or that's the idea? Yes.
When we mark something for disposal and it's ready to go to auction, we offer the reach up the right of first refusal on all of those. And initially we offered a list of 31 vehicles, and they purchased 16 of those in May of 21. And then we offered a list of 19 in January, and they're about to purchase 5 of those.
And do you consider it like a less than the market price? Are you doing kind of like Good News Garage, just saying like, here's just a flat rate, we want to help reach up, so we're going to give you at a lower than market rate?
So they assess the retail book value and assess each vehicle as average. Fleet performed a 2-year assessment of the average sale price compared to the book value, and determined that the average sale price was 76% of the book value. So we offer it to reach up at 75% of the book value.
Okay, and one follow-up, if I may, to Senator Kitchell's point, I don't know, maybe I just haven't been approached or come up with this idea. Could you do the same, since you're getting basically the same price, could you do that to other programs like Voc Rehab and like Mileage Smart, who's also on the market to buy used cars from low-income Vermonters?
Yes, as a matter of fact, a lady from AHS reached out to me about these vehicles for children who are aging out of the the process, out of what,
Foster care.
Yeah, that was it. And I provided the information and haven't heard anything back.
Have you talked to Capstone about their Mileage Smart program at all?
No, have not.
That seems like a good link, particularly since, as you indicate, you have more for sale than has been purchased through the program. So it seems like that excess could in fact be picked up by these other entities. Particularly Mileage Smart, because they're really desperate and they've been spending a lot of time trying to search out inventory and stuff. And so this would really be much more direct connection than, multiple dealers, contacts, and so forth.
Well, the next step for the vehicles that Reach Up is not purchasing is we would advertise them for sale on Auctions International, and anyone can bid on those. So, and the price might even be better. But of course you would take the chance of whether the vehicles would,
Well, we ought to have the folks from Capstone talk to you, Deb.
Yeah, definitely interested to hear that. I'll do some research too.
I'm sending you your name right now.
Are you sending Sue's name or are you sending
Deborah's name to Capstone?
Okay.
to Capstone?
We haven't had a fleet manager since May. And, so I'm playing catch up in a few of these issues.
You have a lot of those vehicles that are pickup trucks, though, don't you, Deb?
Yes, definitely.
I bet because AOT has a bunch of them, a lot of the pickup trucks. So
yeah, the list that we gave them just recently had, I think, maybe 8 trucks on
okay.
it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
When do you turn them in? When they hit a mileage or they hit age?
Well, they start looking at them when they reach 80 to 90,000 miles. The idea is to turn them over before they reach 100,000 and 6 years. But with pandemic and the current situation, we're stretching that out. And we are trying to repurpose some of the vehicles to meet the business needs of state government, because new vehicles are not available.
Okay. Any questions, comments, anybody?
Other question I had.
Yeah, go ahead.
And maybe it's for Aaron, the Reach Up or others. I've also somebody gave me the idea about working with the tech center. So it kind of goes to the work development, that those tech centers that have automotive centers, which not all of them do, that they would be a possibility of a place to do the repairs if that's an issue with the cost. Is that a way to provide them? Maybe they have more cars than they need, but could we use the automotive tech centers as a way to do cheaper repair for these vehicles?
I love that idea. I'm always looking for more ways to partner, and especially in ways to kind of reinforce workforce development, because that's really what our program is all about at its heart. And so I think that's a great idea. I can look into that for sure.
Randolph has a tech, Randolph does auto repairs, I think, don't they?
Mhm.
Tech Center,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think Riverbend does too. And I think, didn't we, when we were talking about the vehicle program, Senator Perch, like we had tried to make some connection with the CTEs, but it got complicated. I don't remember, but it seems like we had that same thought that was a resource for repairs. Or
Right.
maybe that was the program that never got started, remember? I think maybe that's
what
it.
it was, the one that we wanted Capstone to do, and then it
Yeah.
didn't work out. And we talked about working with
Yeah.
the tech centers. And I know
Mhm.
there's, yeah, so.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Okay.
Bill Corn, anything you have to add?
Oh, none of it's actually necessary, but it is nice to see you in the morning.
Oh, boy. I won't repeat this right now. Okay. Oh, wait, we're not live. Any other questions from the committee? I can't see everyone, but any other questions, comments? All right. Well, thank you for coming in this morning and give us an update, and we appreciate it. And if we have any new thoughts, we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, I think we got time for our break. Anything, any committee members, anything